The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here's your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Indeed, the gang is all here. Welcome to the week after Passover/Easter weekend here as we celebrate in our own ways. Hope you had a great time. We got 2 hours here. Matt Nicholson had a trip up to Bristol last weekend. He is back in studio. Plenty of news to get to. We're going to be talking about, big problems over Rick Ware Racing. Oof. Yeah. Chase Elliott, we have an exact date of when he's returning. It's sooner than you might be thinking. We might have the return of CRN story time as well. Plus, we'll continue to talk a little bit of Formula One when it comes to brand new potential team ownership. And we've got our first of the Darlington throwback paint schemes. Actually came out of the Truck Series.
Yeah, we do.
One would have thought the Cup Series would have been first, but no, the Trucks beat them to it. We'll talk about all that more on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Yes, we are. Plenty to get to. We're going to be joined by one of our friends here at the flagship station, you know, the one that's right behind me on the banner if you're watching on CRN Live. Grady's going to join us here in hour number 2. We'll talk some tractors. I imagine somebody's got a tractor sponsorship that we're going to be dealing with, so we'll talk about that coming up later.
More than likely.
In the meantime, let's get to it. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Steve West. That's Matt Nicholson. Producer John Myers, not pictured on CRN Live, but he's here, we promise.
Yes, I am.
Small schedule last weekend amongst the series we cover. We talked about it just a moment ago. He was up there talking about Matt, beginning with the Craftsman Truck Series on dirt at Bristol, dominated shockingly not by a moonlighter. Joey Logano led 138 of the 150 laps and swept both stages and claimed the checkered flag, leading second-place finisher Ty Majeski by 1 1/4 seconds at the checkers. Logano said afterward, quote, "My fun meter was pegged tonight. Had a lot of fun out here racing at Bristol. Dirt's a lot of fun. Hopefully tomorrow's just as good with the other car." Hint, it wasn't. The win only marked Logano's second win in his Truck Series portion of his career. But, hey, he is one of those guys now that has wins in all 3 of the top series of NASCAR.
He does.
I just feel so bad that he didn't win.
I can tell.
Yeah, I know.
I'm heartbroken.
We'll get you tissues later. Majeski, as noted, did finish second, trailed by another moonlighter, William Byron, Matt Crafton, Grant Enfinger, Jace Garcia, moonlighter, Chase Briscoe in there, Tanner Gray, Caden Honeycutt, Matt DiBenedetto in there. With the moonlighter being a winner, no new locks for the playoffs. So what we're still dealing with is Zane Smith, 2 wins, single-time winners Christian Eckes and Carson Hocevar. That's it. The others are in on points. Ty Majeski, Ben Rhodes, Matt Crafton, Grant Enfinger, Corey Heim, Tanner Gray, Matt DiBenedetto. DiBenedetto with a very slim 2-point lead over Nick Sanchez for that final playoff spot. So a lot of changes could still happen. As we noted, Sunday, not going to be that good of a day for Joey Logano. Got into a couple of scuffles early and ended up damaging his car too much to continue, so he was out early again. The race wore on. The question was, could a driver with a dirt track background actually finally win at the dirt-on-concrete surface of Bristol? The answer, yeah, finally. The surface was done up pretty well by NASCAR, reportedly, you said, with help from Tony Stewart and his crew from Eldora.
I did see a few Eldora Speedway hats on the ground, and then after the event was over Saturday night, a gentleman that strikingly resembles the figure of Sir Anthony Stewart did get on a grader.
Was it a Mahindra?
That's all I'm saying. It was not.
Oh. Will not tell Mahindra. Except for putting it out on the air. Christopher Bell did figure it out. He was able to put himself out front and was able to hold off challenges from the likes of Chase Briscoe and in the final few laps, Tyler Reddick, and got the win. Bell said, quote, "It was a very tough surface to get a hold of and should have rewarded guys that kind of knew what to expect and how to get the car around a racetrack," which I think it did. This place is so much fun, whether it's dirt or concrete. Reddick's second-place finish, his second-place finish in a row. 3rd through 10th, Austin Dillon, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., a fading Chase Briscoe finished 5th. Justin Haley 6th, then Martin Truex Jr., Todd Gilliland, Kevin Harvick, and Ty Gibbs. 7 slots in the playoffs are now locked down. William Byron's got those 2 wins on the year so far. Your single-time winners on the year, Christopher Bell in seed order, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Your remaining slots include Ross Chastain, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney. Now we're starting to get into the area where I'm thinking changes are going to start to occur. Alex Bowman probably still will be there. Denny Hamlin has had a very uneven start to his year. Austin Cindric, Chris Buescher in on points. Barely. Chris Buescher is in, edging one Michael McDowell by 1 single point for that 16th and final playoff spot. No pressure, boys.
Yeah, none.
This weekend's slate of racing actually began last night. Craftsman Truck Series was in the Long John Silver's 200 at Martinsville Speedway, and Matt might have been better to have gone to the Long John Silver's instead of the track.
Yeah, it might have been. Let's just say there are some crew chiefs and team owners and a few drivers that are pretty hot because we took a $2,400 set of rain tires. Hear me correctly. We took a $2,400 set of rain tires, became the first ever NASCAR sanctioned race to start on a oval that is wet.
Yeah.
It was almost essentially dry.
Yeah, it wasn't wet enough.
My opinion, we run 25 laps, smoke a set of rain tires, And, yeah, rest is history. Then they put the slicks on. It rains a second time. They leave the slicks on. They didn't let them change the rain tires. They make them leave the slicks on. Huh? So we've got wet weather tires, wet weather package with the flaps on the rear tires. We've got windshield wipers. We've got all the, what I call the F1 trailing lights running everywhere. But we don't let them use it. In the rain. It wasn't raining hard enough, not like it's driving hurricane force rains. It was just a mediocre light rain.
That would have been a perfect time to test it.
That would have been a great time to test it.
So let me get this straight. They had rain tires at the start, burned them up in 25 laps, and then went to slicks. And when it did start raining, we didn't go back to rain tires.
It rained just enough to wet the track off. They put the dryers and the Air Titans out there, blasted a shot of air over it to dry it off, turn them back loose. Here's going to be the problem with this rain package. There were 5 crew chiefs alone that I verbally heard say last night, I don't know if this is going to work because the rain tires have 0 stagger in the tires.
Okay.
0. You cannot effectively run an oval with 0 stagger.
Doesn't work.
Because 30 out of the 36 trucks, I think 34 of them was complaining about being, in their words, stupid tight after about 10 laps.
Not good.
All right. But when the race was called at lap 124 for when it rained a third time, Corey Heim was the winner. He was leading. He led he led 82 of the 124 laps.
Okay. Pretty dominant night for him.
He actually, when the race was ran, 63 of the laps were under caution and only 61 were under green.
That would do it.
Yeah, that'll do it. Kyle Busch, P2. You had Zane Smith, P3. Ty Majeski, P4. Tanner Gray, P5. Ben Rhodes, P6. Matt DiBenedetto, P7. Taylor Gray, P8. William Sawalich, P9 in his Truck Series debut for Tricon. And then Chase Purdy, top 10. Bullet pointing drivers throughout the remaining part of the field. You had Nick Sanchez, 11th. Ross Chastain, 12th. Grant Enfinger, 14th. You had Brett Holmes, 22nd.
Okay.
A late pit stop pending back there. He had a good truck.
Sure.
He just got pinned back there.
It happens.
Carson Hocevar, 34th, after he was penalized for 2 laps for intentionally wrecking Taylor Gray. And then you had Matt Crafton in 26th. Stuart Friesen was 30th.
All right, then. One thing that I note out of that, Kyle Busch Motorsports, not a winner. So Kyle Busch Motorsports still looking for win number 100 in the Truck Series. There you go.
Yep.
Later today in Martinsville, Xfinity Series is going to get in the call811.com before you dig 250. It's their name, not mine. Airs on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio. Starts 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Sunday, dueling races. Starting at the exact same 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central start time. We'll begin at Fox Sports 1 MRN Radio, bringing you coverage of the Cup Series race at Martinsville. That is the NOCO or NOCO 400. At the exact same time, NBC is going to get IndyCar rolling in the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, which is also airing on the IRN radio network. That's the 11-turn, 1.96-mile-long course, considered to be the second crown jewel of IndyCar racing. If you don't know what the first or main crown jewel of IndyCar racing is, you haven't been listening to the show very long.
It's in the name.
Yeah, it is. I would say this is an interesting way of maybe comparing, but it's not really apples to apples. It's not NBC to Fox. It's NBC to Fox Sports 1. But it will be interesting to look at the viewing stats come Monday or Tuesday and see how these two fare up against each other.
Very much will.
And then the final telecast will be the delayed airing of the NHRA 4-Wide Nationals from the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That'll be on Fox Sports 1, airing the finals starting at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. That's about 5 hours after they actually begin paring down to get to the finals of the Camping World Drag Racing Series divisions. 3 of them, Top Fuel, Funny Car, as usual, Pro Stock Car. Those are going to be the ones there. Pro Stock Motorcycle still sitting out. All right, we're going to take a bit of an early break here, John, because what we're going to deal with here is not just one, but two very big stories out of the Cup Series that are going to lead all of our news once again. Cup Series tends to do that, but when you hear these two big stories, you'll understand why. Chase Elliott has decided exactly when he's coming back, but before that, big changes over at Rick Ware Racing. We'll detail the changes and tell you why. Next on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
For those of you checking us out here on CRN Live on YouTube, during our commercial breaks, you're seeing a lot of pictures that Matt took from last week. We're going to chat about those coming up later on. If you are listening on the radio, maybe go to YouTube and bring that up because, like I said, we'll be talking about that. We'll try and get into some CRN story time a little bit later on. First things first, let's get to the big stories in the news world here. Two big stories came out of Cup last week. That's our lead. Bigger of the two, not arguably, is what we began to learn about last Sunday before the race on dirt at Bristol. It began in the early afternoon when Rick Ware Racing sent out a press release stating that their driver, Cody Ware, was not going to be in the car that evening due to what they termed a personal issue. Oh, it got personal, all right.
Air quotes.
That's when the eagle-eyed viewers might have noted, eagle-eyed viewers like that guy right there, that the number 51 for Rick Ware Racing did not actually have Cody Ware's name, but his fill-in driver's name, Matt Crafton, over the door. Well, why would this raise eyebrows? Well, normally when a driver's sitting out a race, or a few, but we know they're going to return, their name remains above the door. Witness 1 Chase Elliott and the 9 car. With Cody Ware's name gone, that meant something a little more was going on.
Just a hair.
Turns out that something more was him being arrested and charged with a felony. Authorities in Iredell County, North Carolina, arrested Ware on Monday. Officially, they have charged him. This was Monday, by the way. There's more to come. Charged him with felony assault on a female and assault by strangulation inflicting serious injury. I didn't know that was an official charge, but welcome to North Carolina. Ware posted, get this, $3,000 in bond. He was released later that same day. Reportedly, the incident happened a week earlier in the city of Mooresville just before midnight, but being a domestic violence issue, all other details were not made public. Upon the arrest and the charges, NASCAR wasted no time stating that Cody Ware, 27, who you can see his mugshot from Iredell County, North Carolina on CRN Live on YouTube. He's 27 years old, suspended indefinitely. Neither Ware nor his legal representation have commented. Friday, just yesterday, as we go to air live here on CRN, he turned himself in again to the Iredell County Sheriff's Department, charged with 2 additional misdemeanor counts, assault inflicting serious injury and communicating threats. He posted an additional $5,000 bond. That mugshot, by the way, courtesy of backroomcinema.co.uk. This is going to be, we've seen this. Think Kurt Busch, what, 2014?
14.
14? I thought it was 14. I mean, obviously, we're going to go through the process of having the legal situation take its course. In the case of Kurt Busch, we found out basically that the whole story that was being placed by his ex-girlfriend was a whole lot of bourgeois. So NASCAR took the suspension away and allowed him back in and gave him a waiver to the playoffs. This situation might be a little bit different.
When I arrived at Bristol Saturday, first thing I wanted to do was just take a trip around what their garage area is.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get a feel for the place, walk around.
First time you'd been to
First time
Martinsville?
I've been there.
Gotcha.
All right. Started at the end of turn 2, end of pit road.
I just said Martinsville.
To
Bristol.
where Brett's Holler is. Started around and went around the turn 3 and turn 4, back around to the opposite end of the track.
Which took you about 10 minutes.
It's even that long. When I rounded the corner where the Cup cars were, they were changing the name over the door.
Mm.
And I went, hold up. Because I got the notification through a Twitter alert that Cody Ware was going to be out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Something maybe up, health reason. It's a personal issue. Immediately you think it's a health reason that you don't want to disclose yet. I get it. But when I round the corner and see them on the 51 car, they're changing the name over the door. And then I looked at the rear window and Crafton's name was in the rear window. I thought, hold up.
Yeah.
I went, something's up. I said, because the first thing I thought of, sub drivers in, if it's for any kind of an issue, they leave the primary driver's name above the door.
Sure.
And the window.
Like I said, witness Chase Elliott.
Matt Crafton's name was on there. I went, okay, something's up. And
You texted me.
I will elaborate more in the story time, but was able to walk into the media center at Bristol with no problem, which was amazing. There was a whole lot of hush over the area about Cody Ware.
My bad.
So that triggered another red flag, like, all right, something's really going on here. So we went on. After the truck race, we were leaving, going across the racetrack, not under the racetrack. There was a group of media members that were interviewing Matt Crafton, who was said fill-in driver. Nate Ryan of NBC Sports asked him, is there anything you can share the light about the deal with Cody Ware? His immediate response, I can't talk about it. End quote.
He was told to say exactly those words. I can guarantee you.
That was here's your sign moment right
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah. So anyway, Matt Crafton does get in the car. We've talked about Matt Crafton's time in the upper levels of NASCAR in the past. He worked his way up to attempting to qualify for 7 Cup races in his career, but only running 3 full ones: Daytona 500 2015, Fall Martinsville 2019, last weekend's Bristol race. Said he loves the Craftsman Truck Series, so that means he's not a candidate to take over the 51 on a regular basis. For Martinsville, at least, that will fall to up-and-coming Ford development driver Zane Smith. Smith has 4 Cup races under his belt, 1 in 2022, 3 so far this year, while also running full-time in the Truck Series. Travel might be an issue for a few races, but that's going to be worried about at a later date. Smith has 2 wins so far this season, 9 career Truck Series wins, leads the playoff contenders to this point in the season. Past that, Rick Ware Racing has yet to say who's going to be in the 51 car. Basically, this looks like it's going to be something of a week-to-week basis. I'll be shocked if Zane isn't in it for the vast majority of the time when the schedule allows it, because we've talked about this. Zane seems to be one of those kids that Cup Series teams are going to begin to look at if they have openings.
For Ford especially.
For Ford especially.
So I would say he would be in it the weekends he's not in the 38 car.
Truck.
The weekend, Cup car.
Well, that's true, too,
When he's
yeah,
in the
because
Cup
that's
car.
the one he's been running.
When he's not in the 38 Cup car, he'll probably be in the 51. When Todd Gilliland is running the 15 car and Zane's in the 38, I could see J.J. Yaley shifting over to run the 51 to fill in the time.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I personally don't see Cody Ware back in the sport ever.
Certainly not this year. I mean, unless this thing falls apart like the Kurt Busch story did, and I'm not necessarily anticipating that it will.
If it had been one time, I could see that there's that shot that it may fall apart. But now that he's been in twice, game over.
Yep.
Game over.
But it's going to be a long, thorough investigation and all that. So, yeah, Cody Ware is going to be out for a long time.
But like I told somebody the other day and told somebody at Bristol, if this is something related to his, and he's not been shy about talking about it, that he battles with certain aspects of mental health disabilities, primarily anxiety and depression. He's not held that as a secret.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's another one that was revealed, I think it's called Asperger's syndrome. I think that's what it's called. Asperger's, yeah. Okay. Asperger's, close enough.
Close.
Tomato. He's not been a secret about it, but whether you deal with that or not, this is my opinion. Whether you deal with one or not, there's a point where you draw the line. Common sense needs to take over.
Should be, yeah.
Common sense needs to take over. And what he's charged with doing, now not on one time but twice, I'm sorry, but there's no excuse for that.
I agree.
Zero.
I agree.
Zero excuse.
I want to make one other note on here, because the reason why I went so far in talking about name over the door situation is because on Monday, before really everything kind of started to come out about Cody Ware, I came across a story, and I want to say, I could be wrong on this, but I want to say I saw it on Yahoo Sports. But it's a cautionary tale for anybody who's doing any kind of reporting whatsoever, whether it's us or hard news reporting for Fox News, ABC, CBS, NBC. I would say CNN, but I'm not really sure they do hard news. In that, don't try to be first with the story. Try to be right. That's what we've tried to do here. I don't want to be first with the story and then get it totally wrong and have egg on our face. Okay? I'd rather be right and late than early and wrong.
Unless it's scrambled with cheese, that's pretty tasty.
Thank you. Thank you for the egg story. And again, I want to say it was Yahoo News. I wish I had actually saved it and noted not only where it showed up, but who the author of it was. But they were talking about why in the world was not, for example, Josh Berry's name on the 9 car.
Uh-huh.
Because if you look at Matt Crafton, he's filling in on the 51 car for Cody Ware. He gets his name above the door. Why isn't Hendrick Motorsports putting Josh Berry's name above the door? This shows an absolute total lack of knowledge of how things work in NASCAR, number one. And number two, you didn't get the whole story. So why are you posting a story about it?
Yeah, I mean, just if I'm a car owner, all right, these two are drivers. Steve's my primary driver. All right, something comes out to this nature that Steve has done.
Shame on you, Steve.
and I'm tabbing John to fill in.
Trust me, if I did that to my wife, you wouldn't have to be worrying about me.
Because his wife, she'd already have him 6 feet under after
You
she
know
got
it.
through with him.
Mine too.
And I put John in the car to fill in for this race. With what happened to what Steve said done, why would I leave Steve's name over the door?
Bad publicity.
Publicity disaster.
Well, not only that, but it looks to me like going back to why one is on above the door and one is not. One's coming back. The other one most likely not.
Probably.
Bingo.
Yep.
Bingo.
So, on to better news. The second piece of big news from the Cup Series regards the driver we just mentioned, Chase Elliott. At first, most thought he was going to be back just in time for Talladega, and he will, plus one race earlier. Elliott's been recovering from that broken left leg that he suffered snowboarding in Colorado while the Cup Series was going through that West Coast swing in early March. Well, the 2020 Cup Series champion started his rehab in Colorado and then took it back to his Dawsonville, Georgia home to complete. He spent this past week in the Chevrolet Test Center in Concord, North Carolina, testing in their Driver in the Loop simulator. It's their title for it, not mine. It cemented his decision to be returning to the 9 car this week with the blessing of one Rick Hendrick. As we noted, Josh Berry has filled in for Elliott in 5 of the 6 races, claiming a best finish of second place at Richmond. Road course racer Jordan Taylor, you might remember, drove at COTA. He started 4th, but kind of got tossed around early by the over-aggressive driving that kind of caught him unawares. He ended up finishing 24th. With the announcement, as it was expected, NASCAR did chime in. They stated that the Hendrick Motorsports medical waiver request for Elliott has been granted. I know, shocking, ain't it? So as long as Elliott does win a race, he's guaranteed to make the playoffs. As it stands, he sits 33rd in the standings after missing 6 races. He's 134 points out of 16. Technically, he could, with the number of races we have left in the year, probably build up enough points to point his way in, but that's a big hurdle to jump over.
Yeah, it would be a big hurdle, but with the top 30 rule being gone,
Yeah.
all it's going to take for him to win one race, he's back in the party.
And I'll be honest with you, it wouldn't shock me at all if he gets a win within the first 5 races. I'll be real honest with you. Wouldn't shock me totally if the 9 car visits victory lane tomorrow.
Or next week, but if he visits,
Hendrick Motorsports is so good at Martinsville.
they are. But if he wins, say, next week,
Oh, gosh.
I may have to parachute out of the tower because the stands will probably come down.
Yeah. Well, think about it. Elliott announces, and you and I have both, on our respective other jobs that we do during the week, we have had the chance to chat with the track president of Talladega Superspeedway, Brian Crichton.
Yep.
Brian Crichton told us on Thursday in my other job, and he told you guys, I think, Friday,
Yesterday.
that with Chase Elliott announcing he's going to be back at Martinsville, all of a sudden the number of requests for tickets at Talladega Superspeedway skyrocketed. We said this from the moment we knew that Dale Earnhardt Jr. was going to retire and therefore abdicate the throne of NASCAR's most popular driver in the Cup Series. Who's going to be next? We said it was going to be Chase Elliott. And how many times have we said that, and I got a kick out of it every single time. It didn't matter where Dale Earnhardt Jr. started a race. He could start at 40th or 43rd, depending on how big the field was in any particular year. He could start at dead last on the field, and he would work his way up through the crowd. As soon as he got into the top 10, those who were sitting down kind of started to pay more attention. He got into the top 5, they moved to the edge of the seat. If he's battling for first, they're standing up on their feet. That's Chase Elliott.
And
Now.
the tower's shaking.
That's Chase Elliott now at Talladega. If he were to come and win at Talladega, yeah, he's right. That place will do all but burn down. Elliott talked to the media upon arriving at Bristol just yesterday as we air live, said that, quote, despite the accident that caused him to miss those 6 weeks, he's not going to give up snowboarding. Quote, I wasn't doing anything that was wild or crazy. I don't have a cool story to tell. It was just a perfect storm that could happen at any point at any time. I feel like you have to enjoy your life and go do things that are a nice escape from this every week, talking about racing. He continued, there's a lot that goes into racing, and I think you have to have a way to escape and give your mind a rest. The accident could have happened tripping down a stairs or on a jog. Snowboarding is something I've been doing for a long time. I'm comfortable doing it. It's one of those things that I've used as a training tool over the year. It's no different than riding bikes. And I mean, he's right. I mean, an accident certainly could happen if he could pull a Joe Biden. He could wreck on his bicycle and break his leg. It's one of those weird little happenstances that you certainly don't expect. You don't plan for necessarily in advance, but at the same time, you do kind of wonder, is there a way to mitigate some of the potential dangers here? And as much as you love snowboarding, maybe not do that during the season?
Nope.
I'm just saying.
None whatsoever.
Just have to figure it out. Anyway, sticking with Hendrick Motorsports, they told media also they were going to wait until after the race in Bristol to determine the appeal of the latest penalties that were handed down to the 24 and 48 teams after the Richmond race. Just a quick reminder, NASCAR took the 24 and 48 cars back to the R&D Center in Charlotte after that race, declared the greenhouse area was not in compliance, and in what they did was they penalized both drivers, docked them each 60 points, 5 playoff points, while their interim crew chiefs were suspended for 2 races each, fined $75,000. Those suspensions, by the way, begin, I think, after this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's, when the already suspended regular crew chiefs are now going to be able to return. Hendrick Motorsports decided this time around, not going to appeal. They've chosen to concentrate on the racing instead. Tells me that something is definitely up with those cars, number one, and number two, they realize NASCAR's pretty much got a magnifying glass out on them, if not something to look even closer.
Yep, they do. They do.
Watch what you do, Hendrick. NASCAR's watching.
Yeah.
Closely.
Yep.
Speaking of bone breaks, how about that one that Chase Briscoe of Stewart Haas Racing is dealing with? Briscoe broke his left middle finger during a dirt race the Thursday night before the Bristol Dirt Weekend. He did go on to race in both the Truck and the Cup Series races at Bristol. He finished 5th both times and promised his doctor if he were allowed to race at Bristol, he would return this week for further treatment after Bristol. And he was a man of his word. He returned to the doctor early this week, as promised. He was x-rayed. It was determined surgery, unfortunately for him, going to be needed, despite Briscoe claiming he actually had no pain from the broken bone due to his driving, just the regular broken bone pain. What was that all?
Let's see. Left middle finger, the way you hold the steering wheel, turning down. So, yeah, if anybody makes Chase Briscoe mad, we got an automatic.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
It's set by a brace. He doesn't even have to really work that hard at it.
Yeah.
Either way, he's going to get the surgery. It is set for, I say set for Monday because obviously weather could play a factor over at Martinsville and maybe delay things until Monday. I'm not anticipating it, but it could. Briscoe said on social media, quote, still broken and hurting. Surgery first thing Monday morning after Martinsville to get some rods and screws put in it. Says he does not anticipate missing any races. Now, luckily for him, the first race after this is going to be Talladega.
Where you can, in some ways, one-hand the car.
So there you go. We'll find out how things go. But Chase Briscoe looking to be on the mend with a little bit of help from his doctor friends. Let's get back to Rick Ware Racing when we come back. They did some things in the front office trying to make things a little bit better over there. We'll talk about it, Xfinity, and Craftsman Truck Series news when we come back on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
We are back indeed. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers, and talking a little Rick Ware Racing. I know we already talked about them when it came to the Cody Ware situation, but this one is a little bit better news for them, at least they're hoping. They're bringing in a new competition director in the face of one NASCAR veteran, Tommy Baldwin Jr. Baldwin owns the team that has claimed the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour owner's title last year, former Cup Series team owner himself from 2009 to 2018, not to mention a winning crew chief. Among his wins, 2002 Daytona 500. You see his photo right there on CRN Live on YouTube, courtesy of NBCSports.com. Baldwin talked about his addition to the team, said this, quote, "I've known Rick and Bobby Benton, the team president, a long time, and this is a role that I'm looking forward to with the team. My immediate goals are to see how we can improve right now, how it can continue to grow in the future. This team has a lot of determination and talent. We just need to start putting numbers on the board to show it all." He officially joined the team last weekend at Bristol Motor Speedway. We've talked about this. They need something over there at Rick Ware Racing because as much as you have what he's talking about, you've got determination, which will get you so far.
Yeah.
You got some talent. I mean, it's not like J.J. Yaley is a piker by any stretch. But the performance of the cars is not there.
With the exception of J.J. Yaley, which he has a dirt background as well. He drove from 8th to 2nd in the heat race last week, in his respective heat race, on the top, by himself.
Yeah.
You collectively saw the Cup garage perk up and go. But outside of that, there's been nothing.
We've seen no performance out of that team.
None.
They need something. So hopefully Tommy Baldwin can make that happen.
I think he can.
All right. We'll find out. Several drivers debuting in Xfinity Series competition at Martinsville, either for this season or making their first ever start in the series as a whole. One of those guys, Chad Fincham, attempting his 2023 debut with MBM Motorsports. He has, of course, raced in the Xfinity Series before. Kyle Weatherman, also a veteran of Xfinity competition, needs to get in on speed for FRS Racing. It does not have the owner's points. I think he did, too.
Who?
Kyle Weatherman made the race?
That's what I'm checking now. I'm pretty sure. I think he did.
Okay. While you're looking that up, Caden Honeycutt, full-time Truck Series driver, looking to get into his first ever Xfinity Series race. CHK Racing in the number 74 Camaro. Then you got Corey Himes set to pilot the Sam Hunt Racing number 24 entry. That's his first attempt at the series for the 2022 Craftsman Truck Series rookie.
Starting lineup. Here we go.
All right. Let's see who we got here. Fincham and Weatherman. I think Weatherman's probably the bigger curiosity.
Fincham did not qualify.
Did not qualify, so he did not make his 2023 debut. Kyle Weatherman needed to get in on speed.
He got in safely on speed.
He got
starts
in?
27th.
Okay. Caden Honeycutt, CHK Racing number 74.
He is in the show.
Corey Himes, Sam Hunt Racing. I think they have the owner's points.
Corey Himes, Sam Hunt Racing. Where are you? La, 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 la. Can't find you. Connor Mosaik's in the car.
Oh.
This week.
Hello. They made a change at the last minute.
Corey Himes driving at Dover.
Ah, okay. Well, there you go.
Garrett Smithley and Chad Fincham did not make the race.
Okay.
So, yeah, Weatherman's 27th. Honeycutt's 33rd.
All right. That brings us to the Truck Series and how the Truck Series suddenly, I don't have, let me first say this. I have zero problem with the Truck Series being in on Throwback Weekend. It was something that they started in the Cup Series several years ago, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
I love Throwback Weekend at Darlington. We had the chance to be able to be there for a couple of those and see them live and in person. It was great. The fact that the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series have embraced it as well is great. It is just kind of funny to me that with the Throwback Weekend quickly approaching at Darlington, May 12th is the Truck Series race. They're actually the first ones to show off a throwback paint scheme.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anything from any Xfinity team. We haven't seen anything yet from any Cup Series team. It's not to say they're not working on it. We just haven't seen anything.
I think there's going to be another one coming pretty soon.
Okay. Well, the first one that we got, you're about to see on CRN Live on YouTube, courtesy of jski.com. Nick Sanchez, Rev Racing, going to take part in the number 2 Chevy Silverado. They're going to honor Mario Andretti. Run a powder blue body with a gold roof and a red roof number on the scheme. That's very similar to what Andretti drove. Of course, what Andretti drove in 1967 to the Daytona 500 win was a Ford, whereas this is a Chevy. But you know what? We're honoring Mario Andretti, not necessarily the blue oval. That, by the way, the only win of the legend's career in NASCAR. You can see how those two rides compare, and pretty favorable. And then, as promised, NASCAR rolling out one by one the 25 drivers who are going to be adding on to the sanctioning body's ultimately top 75 drivers of their 75 years list. Remember, 1998, their 50th anniversary, they came out with the top 50 list. They're not creating another list of top 75. They're keeping that top 50, and they're just adding on 25 more. So the best 25 drivers, maybe of the last 25 years, we shall see. The ones added this week include the guy found out pre-race show leading up to the Bristol Dirt Race in the Cup Series last Sunday, and we talked about he being a no-brainer, Tony Stewart. Smoke was one of the no-brainers. Thinking there's 2 or 3 more. 3-time Cup Series champion, 49 Cup Series wins to his credit. One of a select number of drivers to claim wins in all 3 of NASCAR's top series, amongst his other accolades, which include the 1990 Cup Series Rookie of the Year. And oh, by the way, he is in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, in case you forgot. So, yeah, no-brainer, no doubt. One that kind of made some people question this. And they go, oh, we must be lowering our standards, huh, NASCAR? Really? Let me give you the resume of one Casey Kane. Again, might not have been a name that comes immediately to mind when it comes to this list, but his resume does back him up. He did claim the 2004 Cup Series Rookie of the Year. He has won the Coca-Cola 600 no less than 3 times, and that's just a portion of his 18 career wins. He's also one of those few select drivers to have wins in all 3 of NASCAR's top 3 series. We immediately think NASCAR, we think top level. We think the Richard Pettys, the Dale Earnhardts, those guys, the Jeff Gordons. And I get it. Cup Series, it's the dominant one. NASCAR's got a lot of series underneath them. That's where we get to this next guy, Mike Stefanik. One of those names who, again, if you only follow the top or only the top 3 series, you might not be overly familiar with this guy. This is a guy who claimed no less than 7 Whelen Modified Division titles, 2 titles in the old Busch North Series, was the 1999 Truck Series Rookie of the Year, holds the all-time record for wins and poles in the Modified Tour. Trust me, he deserves to be in. Unfortunately, he will not be there. As you can see, we have a memoriam picture for him. He died in a car accident a couple of years ago, well before his time. Another name that you might not have immediately thought of as being in, but deservedly so, Randy LaJoie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. 2-time champion in what we now call the Xfinity Series. He won back-to-back in 1996, 1997. Of course, he's the dad of Corey LaJoie, currently a full-time driver in the Cup Series with Spire Motorsports. And then, current driver, Kyle Larson. 2021 Cup Series champion, moved up through the dirt racing ranks to jump into NASCAR full-time in 2013. You remember Chip Ganassi Racing, kids? He joined the Xfinity Series, and after only 4 Truck Series races, also one of a number of drivers with wins in all 3 of NASCAR's top 3 series. Went Cup Series racing in 2014, has 20 wins to date. Championship that we noted in 2020, overcame suspension from NASCAR for comments made during the COVID break of 2020 and fell upstairs. Joined Hendrick Motorsports in 2021, won 10 races that year on his way to the Cup win. 4 or 5 more set to be announced in the coming week. We're going to keep them. We're going to keep up on them for you. Pictures of those NASCAR legends on CRN Live, all courtesy of NBCSports.com. And then we mention this only because of the fact that it is our home away from home. Matt and I work there, and John spends a lot of time with us there. It's Talladega Superspeedway. Got a new medical partner. Back in the old days, it used to be the now defunct Caraway Methodist Medical Center. That's now being turned into some sort of entertainment property. For a few years, it was Grandview Medical Center out on Highway 280 in the Birmingham area. And now they've decided and have signed a 3-year deal with no less than UAB Medicine, Alabama's largest hospital and the only Level 1 adult trauma center as certified by the American College of Surgeons. Becomes the official trauma center and medical provider for the biggest oval in NASCAR, again, on a 3-year deal. This will include branding on the infield care center and any other medical offices at the track for competitors and fans. We thank UAB Medicine's website for the image you see right now on CRN Live and YouTube. I have to admit, no disrespect to the Grandviews and the Caraway Methodist Medical Centers of the world, this seemed like a duh thing to have them and UAB, Talladega and UAB combined.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. That is
So-
a total no-brainer.
I say it's about time. Let's do a little CRN story time right here.
Sure.
During the breaks, when we have been, for those of you who have been watching on CRN Live on YouTube, you have been seeing a series of pictures that Matt took while he was at Bristol last weekend. I'm going to let him kind of go through those. And again, I warned you, if you're only listening on the radio or on our flagship station's app, you're missing out on this a little bit, but he'll do his level best to describe this.
Kind of position myself where I can see better right here, where I can see him go live. This picture you're seeing upcoming here now, just a regular shot of the dirt truck that BHR run and unloaded for Bristol, sitting underneath the tents, the makeshift garage area for the infield of Bristol. That shot there gave the team some help pushing the truck down pit road after the post race, because those trucks are not easily to be pushed, and it takes multiple people to do it. And everybody was ready to go. So I just standing there trying to help them get it ready to go to the lift gate to get loaded. Which,
Now, whose truck is this, Matt?
this is Brett Holmes' truck. This shot right here, I was really amazed at the access you could have at Bristol.
I mean, you're right up against.
After that, and that was reminiscent of my Darlington shot that I took in 2019 at nearly 4:30 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, you were right up. You were right out on pit road up against the wall.
Yeah, I walked right out there. The shot we got coming right here, I just walked to the track, stood on the racetrack. Nobody said a word. That's right there at the crossover gate where you go, where the haulers go out. There were people walking out, just walking over the track, getting a feel from it.
Okay.
John, if you could, can you pause this one right here? You can't. All right.
You got your camera right down there on the surface.
I've started to make a tradition out of this. Any track that I'm able to go to, walk to the track if possible, and take my phone and set it on the track surface and shoot down the track. I was very, very amazed at how well this racetrack held up. As much as it rained Friday, the track had a monster amount of grip in it.
So they packed it down pretty good.
Well, what it was, and I heard somebody say this, they had the racetrack sealed completely off. They had pre-watered it. Before the rains came, they had it sealed down to where more moisture could not seep into the racetrack.
Okay.
How would you do that?
All you do is resealing the racetrack. When you seal a dirt track off, you start top to bottom, and you don't run in clockwise direction. You run counterclockwise.
Okay.
Track was sealed top to bottom. That way, it lets just the water run off of it. There may be maybe a little bit of moisture it takes in on the top, maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch at most. So if you have to go out and clip the track to get any loose moisture off or bad dirt off of there, when you clip it, you got a perfect surface right underneath it. As I said, as much as it rained Friday, as much rain as it went through up there on Saturday going up, and me thinking, what in the world am I doing? Wasting time going up here. And then we get out at Bristol, and it is snowflakes flying. Yes, I said snowflakes were flying. I was so shocked at how well that racetrack held up and how much grip it took. Yes, Sunday the racetrack got very blacked over versus Saturday. But I took, as any dirt racer knows, to fill a compound of a tire, walk to the edge of a tire, take your thumbnail, stick it at the edge of the tire to fill the compound level of the dirt tire that you're running. These were what I would call medium compound tires for dirt. Trucks had the same as Cup. Contact patch on a truck is about 2 inches shorter than a Cup car. Even though it's 15 to 18, it's about probably only 2 inches. All right. Track took rubber more with Cup cars because A, more horsepower, B, wider contact patch, C, heavier. But back to what I said, though. I was really shocked that the racetrack held up as good as it did, because I was fearing, okay, we're about to see a repeat of 21. Trucks are going to get out there. Trucks are going to start spraying mud everywhere. And we're about to have to park it and rework the whole racetrack. And no telling how much time.
It did seem like NASCAR took a lot more advice over the last couple of years in working this track in from people who know a heck of a lot more about it. And I'll throw Tony Stewart out there. I mean, he's not the only one. I mean, like we said, several guys with Eldora Speedway hats on coming down there and helping them out. Setting it up. So it's the first year. That track was not what I would call in real good condition.
I walked back out and made a second pass and watched them work the racetrack in. I didn't do it, but I almost went and done a track walk with Brett and the other Craftsman Truck Series drivers and the Cup drivers. I almost did it, but I didn't. I just let him go ahead and let him be with what he done. But when you walked around and you got to where Victory Lane was, which you could stand on top of Victory Lane and just watch the race wherever, and nobody say a word, which was great. At one point, standing on top of Victory Lane watching the racetrack being worked in was Tony Stewart, Clint Boyer,
who knows a little bit about it himself,
and Kenny Wallace.
Also knows a bit about dirt racing.
They were watching. And one facial expression I saw Clint Boyer make was this, like he was surprised that the surface looked as good as it did. But one thing that I commend the sanctioning body for doing is not only trucks, but Cup as well. Before they started their respective heat races to qualify, they gave them 3 to 4 hot laps just to warm up and help cut the racetrack in more, which I think only helped it that much more. It stayed sealed off. It didn't rut up. Nothing.
There you go. Good stuff. All right. When we come back, we're going to be joined by one of our friends from our flagship station here. And we're going to talk a little bit about tractors and lawnmowers and all that. And then we'll get back into the news here. We got Indycar stuff to talk about, Formula One, plenty of things to deal with, including more news about potential owners, or at least those who are interested in becoming owners in Formula One. Plus, when we come back, we got a little bit of news because another driver's been added to the Superstar Racing Experience lineup. Hour 1 down, hour 2 next on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
Get ready for the biggest event
bags of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Indeed we are, but before we get back into all that racing action, we're going to take a couple of moments and check in with Grady Sapp. Grady, of course, with our flagship station here, 95.1 The Mountain. Out on location, going to talk a little bit of tractors and mowers. Exactly where are you, and what all do you want to talk about specifically, Grady?
Well, thanks very much, Steve. I am actually out at Alabama Tractor. We're just off of I-20 at the Lincoln exit down in Lincoln, and we're here because it is Kubota Field Day today here at Alabama Tractor. So what that means basically is try it before you buy it. You know, if you go shopping for a lot of different things, you kind of like to put hands-on and see how it feels to you. Well, you can do that today with all of these Kubota equipment. They've got tractors, they've got zero-turn mowers. They've got everything orange as far as you can see right now here at Alabama Tractor. Lots of Kubota equipment that is on sale. So you have a chance to come down here and save big today, and also try this before you can buy it. Find the perfect Kubota for your needs. And I mean, whatever it is, you've got acres to cut. One of these big zero-turn mowers can do that for you for sure. You've got farm blades.
All right, so we'll check in with Grady a little bit later on in the show as well, see what all's going on there. A lot of background noise there, but hey, we'll get it covered. Don't worry about it. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers here in studio. And real quick note, Superstar Racing Experience is back in the news here because they've added yet another driver to their lineup for one race. Race number 2 of the upcoming season, going to be at Thunder Road, and NASCAR Cup Series driver Daniel Suarez is now officially entered in. That race now has 10 total entrants, does have room for 2 more, plus a slot reserved for a local driver. So 13 total, but 12 are some, those guys, the big number ones. And you can see this, the picture of the drivers and which races they're all going to be running courtesy of the SRX series there. Again, you get the regular 10 entrants in a lot of those, and if you're looking at it, those that are in orange are full-time. They're going to be running all 6 races, and then you got the drivers in white who are going to run 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 races, but they're not going to run all 6. So you got 12 really plus 1 slot left open for a local track driver, maybe a former track champion if they're interested. This, by the way, marks the Trackhouse Racing driver's first SRX Series race.
Thunder Road's going to be an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Motor Mile is just as strong as the other one.
It's going to be fun to watch this.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
It is.
Turn our attention over to the IndyCar series here, and that continued pairing of the CW Network stars and IndyCar continuing on as we're awaiting the debut of the network's 100 Days to Indy event series. As part of that, when IndyCar gets back into action next weekend for the Acura Long Beach Grand Prix, the Flash star, not the one that's coming into the movie theaters, I'm talking about the one that's on TV, Grant Gustin, gets to ride in the fastest seat in sport, that 2-seater that will, along with the pace car, lead the field to green, thanks to Wikipedia for the Grant Gustin picture you see a CRN live on YouTube. I'm not so certain. I've seen previews of the Flash movie with Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
The storyline seems interesting. I'm still not 100% sold on Ezra.
Uh-huh.
I got to admit, I kind of like Grant Gustin. I've watched the show. I worked at that. Yeah. I worked at the Birmingham affiliate for CW Network and kind of got into watching that. Right. And it was a pretty enjoyable show, at least for me. It's one of the things that I have the biggest complaint on when it comes to, and I know that I'm going all entertainment roundtable here. Look that up.
6 out of 10.
Yeah. It's one of those things that has always kind of bugged me, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If a character portrays a character, they play it both television and movies. Mm-hmm. Whereas the DC Cinematic Universe, they have the TV side and then they got the movie side, and it doesn't seem like the two will ever meet. Yeah. I'm not really sure I understand why. Anyway, thing about that CW 100 Days to Indy, that first episode, they actually screened to a select group of invitees this past week, just a couple of days ago, really out in Long Beach. Came away saying that they were very impressed with how it looked. You had the intro done, very appropriately, by Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing co-owner David Letterman. The debut episode is entitled Crowded at the Top, spends a pretty good bit of time at the beginning recapping the 2022 Indy 500 before they jump to 2023 and start to lead to the 100 days up to the Indy 500. Reviews were all very roundly complimentary of the episode, and they all stated they had a pretty high anticipation for the rest. As I've said, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, same here.
That race, by the way, the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, leading directly into a pretty busy May. I mean, usually it's all about Indianapolis, but May this time begins in our very own backyard, Barber Motorsports Park, and then it's going to wrap up with the crown jewel, arguably for all of motorsports, not just IndyCar, the Indy 500. Arrow McLaren Racing has revealed 3 of their 4 cars, all with different looks for that prestigious race. As I noted, they're going to run 4 cars. 3 of the 4 of them, though, are specialties. They're going to show off they actually did show off the 3 cars for their full-time racers, which you're going to see on CRN Live here in a moment via IndyCar.com. Thank you to them for that. The 5-car Pato Award, the 6-car Felix Rosenquist, the 7 for Alexander Rossi. Award getting kind of a more basic black and white look. Rosenquist getting a mixture, papaya orange and white, while Rossi's car takes almost totally the papaya orange look with blue numbering and highlighted stripes on the nose and air intakes. Tony Kanaan is going to drive that 4th car for the team. It's a part-time car. His car wasn't shown, so I imagine it'll just be the regular McLaren paint scheme of whatever that happens to look like. These cars are what they're calling the Triple Crown cars, replicating the paint schemes as best they could that were on McLaren entries when they won the Triple Crown of Motorsports, winning in the Indy 500, Monaco Grand Prix in Formula One, and, of course, the 24 Hours Le Mans. They're also in there to help celebrate the 60th anniversary of McLaren. So they've claimed the Triple Crown of Motorsports in their 60 years in existence. And there are teams that have been around for longer that cannot say the same.
That 6 car, I'm telling you, has got shades of the old Marlboro scheme of it.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
I like the 6 the best, the
Yeah.
one in the middle,
Yep.
if you're looking on YouTube.
But
Yeah,
I'm
it really
telling
does
you,
kind of pop out.
You cannot debate me, argue me, fight me. I don't care.
Yep.
You cannot go wrong with that black car, Pato Awards.
No.
I'm sorry.
But that has got to be the 24 Hours Le Mans. I have to admit that's a car I'm not familiar with. I'd have to go back and look and see about that history right there. So, but yeah, pretty cool stuff. I like how they're doing that. Meantime, speaking of Alexander Rossi, he seeking clarification of why he was penalized for contact with Kyle Kirkwood on pit road during the Texas race. Before the race, IndyCar officials denoted the priority level along pit road. For example, the pit stalls is actually 3rd, the lowest on that totem pole. The lane next to the pit stalls is what they called the transition lane. That was the middle priority. The outside lane, or what they called the fast lane, was the top priority. IndyCar initially cited Rossi's team for an unsafe release, but they then amended that to initiating contact with Kirkwood's car on pit road. Now, Rossi might have a point in his team radio rant when he said that his team didn't know that Kirkwood was coming in because apparently Kirkwood went straight from the fast lane into his pits instead of going into the transition lane and did so right in front of Rossi's pit. Rossi angrily said that he would have yielded had Kirkwood been in the transition lane, but in the fast lane, his team told him the transition lane was clear, set him loose. Kirkwood said he hasn't talked about the incident with either IndyCar or Rossi, and neither Rossi nor IndyCar have commented on this since the race happened. I will say this, Kirkwood did add that being very busy along pit road at the time, he was actually told by his team to stay in the fast lane.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think Rossi's going to win that argument, but
No.
should he? Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe, but yeah. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think it will either. Motorsports Hall of Fame of America has announced their 2024 class of enshrinees, and next year they will include 6-time IndyCar champion Scott Dixon. That's kind of a no-brainer. He kind of maybe already should have made that cut. And Dixon's going to be joined by another guy who seems to be a no-brainer, 7-time Cup champion Jimmy Johnson. Plus, going in, Hans device inventors Jim Downing Jr. and Robert Hubbard, actor and racer Paul Newman. You say, I remember the acting part. What about the racing part? Paul Newman himself quite accomplished as a racer. 4-time SCCA national champion. And oh, by the way, he was an IndyCar team owner and an 8-time IndyCar title-winning owner. 2 others going in as well. Dixon is not only a 6-time IndyCar champion, he's got 53 race wins to his credit, 2nd on the all-time list of IndyCar wins, and at the age of 42, states he's not ready to stop seeking more wins or titles just yet. said of the news when he got to Long Beach just a couple of days ago, quote, "I'm extremely honored to be thought of in this way and mentioned among many of the greats across so many forms of motorsports." His car owner, Chip Ganassi, simply said, quote, "There's not a more deserving driver that's currently in the series for the Hall of Fame." And
I second that.
yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Whew.
Paul Newman.
Mm-hmm.
Younger generations may say, "Is that the salad dressing guy?"
Well, yeah, it is. That's a pretty cool score, too. I mean, Paul Newman started Newman's Own. Never accepted any money for it. All of the profits for that, the only money that Newman's Own, the organization, kept was just to keep the organization going. Any profits out of Newman's Own all go to charity. Paul Newman saw not one red cent out of that. Really cool stuff. Paul Newman, very, very missed guy. Go see the Sting. Not the sequel. The original Sting, 1972, 73, somewhere in that area. Fantastic movie. Fantastic movie. And there are many others, don't get me wrong. I'm just thinking of one. Let's turn our attention over to Formula One, where the weather in South Florida has been rough this past week. Why in the world are we talking about the weather in South Florida and talking about Formula One? Think about it. Fort Lauderdale reported 26 inches of rain in just a couple of days. It actually prompted the city to have to shut its airport down until just yesterday as we air live. So now cleanup begins. What does that mean to us here on a racing show? Well, I'll tell you, in case you hadn't figured it out. In 3 weeks, everything needs to be really, really clean right around Hard Rock Stadium. That's where the Miami Grand Prix is going to take place for year number 2, where the parking lot, kind of like Fort Lauderdale Airport, that picture that you just saw not too long ago on CRN Live on YouTube. There it is right there. Yeah, look at all that water right there. All that is water, boys and girls. You can't take off and land in that. And you can't run a Formula One race in that either. And the Hard Rock Stadium parking lot, from what we understand, I don't have a picture of it, looked a lot like that. Yee.
Oof.
Yeah, the picture you see right there, courtesy of globallivemedia.com. So cleanup begins. Drain off, obviously, is something that they're dealing with. And then the cleanup, we'll have to see exactly what happens there. Here's, to me, though, a bigger problem. Kind of a misconception as to why, apparently. Former F1 champion Sebastian Vettel has been claiming on social media that the entirety of Miami and the surrounding area is going to be underwater soon. His words, not mine.
Stop it.
Of course, he's claiming that that's due to climate change, using the air bunnies. For the record, Al Gore, you know, the guy who was the vice president under Bill Clinton from 1993 to 2001, he was saying the same thing about 2 decades ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. We went to Homestead, which is also called Homestead Miami Speedway. When was that?
That would be in 2019.
When we got there, did we arrive in a boat?
No.
We got there by plane, right?
I arrived via Southwest Airlines. He arrived via American Airlines.
We stayed in a hotel, which wasn't underwater.
It was next door to Miami International Airport.
And we got from the airport to the track, which is 30-ish minute drive, 45 minute, 30 to 45 minute drive.
Somewhere in there.
I don't remember going through any puddles.
No, we was too busy laughing at falling iguana warnings from freezing.
That's true too. Yeah. I mean, he and I were going down the road with the windows down and the sunroof open at 60 degrees while the guy on the weather forecast was saying, "Break out your jackets."
Watch for iguanas falling out of the palm trees. What?
Yeah. So, Al? Seb? Wrong!
Yeah.
Anyway, rain happens, especially in more tropical climates. Kind of like South Florida. It happens. 26 inches in a short period of time is a bit unusual, but again, these things happen. We've had it happen very similarly here, right here in central and east central Alabama. I mean, getting 10 inches of rain within a couple of hours' time has been done in the past couple of years here in central and east central Alabama. Do we like it? No. Does it happen from time to time? Yeah. Doesn't mean it's climate change. Stop it. Anyway, all those who picked up on Vettel's so-called prediction and began to run with it, you might want to actually stop listening to the scare tactics and, I don't know, learn weather.
Yeah, that would help.
Night class at a local college. Whatever. FIA, on to more important things. Holding a hearing on Ferrari's right of review request that we talked about last week regarding the penalties that handed down to Carlos Sainz at the end of the Australian Grand Prix. We detailed it last week here on the show. Quick review. Sainz crossed the finish line in 5th, officially, but a 5-second penalty relegated him to 12th place since the final lap was run under safety car conditions. Sainz had been penalized as race stewards decided that he was at fault for a crash that involved Fernando Alonso. That was the one that brought out what would be the third and final red flag of a 3-red flag race that prompted them to finish the race under safety car conditions. There were, and this is why Ferrari sought a right of review, 2 other separate collisions on that same turn 1 restart mess. Ferrari wants to know why penalties were not assessed in either of those cases. They might have a point. The ruling will be heard this coming week, Tuesday to be exact. My question, I might actually be with them on this, but do I think they rescind the 5-second penalty? I don't.
Nope. None whatsoever.
In fact, of the things that might actually happen, I could actually see them retroactively assessing 5-second penalties regarding the other 2 incidents before they rescind the 5-second penalty for Carlos Sainz.
Yep.
Maybe that's just me. Oh, this saga regarding prospective new Formula One team owners. It is coming to an end. We see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's called April 30th. We'll talk about it more when we come back here and try and separate it all out and try and make sense of it, because that's what we do right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Well, before we actually get back out to the track, we do need to go and, well, it's going to be like Bristol Dirt last week. We need to go do a little treatment with it with the tractor here, and that's what's going to bring in the man from the flagship station, one Grady Sapp. Hello, Grady. How's the tractor deal going?
Well, good morning, Steve. And the tractor deal is going well. In fact, if anybody is even thinking about maybe getting, let's say, a mower or a tractor, JP, or implements or whatnot, anything Kubota related, today is the day, because it is the Kubota field event here at Alabama Tractor. We're just off of I-20 in Lincoln. You can see it sitting up here on the hill. We got the mountain truck, lights flashing. We got the mountain, what would you call this, castle? Kind of want to name it the mountain castle?
The mountain castle, yeah. We got
Wait. It's the mountain chalet.
Chalet. Yeah, I like it. I don't know how to spell it, but I like it.
Yeah.
Carefully.
Yeah.
You like 0% interest, don't you?
I do like 0% interest, and I like these orange tractors, too.
Hey, you know what the cool thing is? You can drive anything you want to buy in the Kubota line today. If you're thinking about a tractor or an excavator or a mower, whatever the case is, you can crawl up on there and fire that mother up.
He's about sold out of them excavators.
I know.
Man, but he can get whatever you need, man. You take these little four-wheel drive tractors right here, you twist your bucket on the front of it, there ain't no limit to what you can do.
So, if you're thinking about getting one, we're being watched. We're spied on here. We got a drone looking at us. If you're thinking about buying, today is the perfect day. It is a Kubota field event. Come out and take advantage of it. Alabama Tractor. We're just off of I-20. You can jump off right there at the Lincoln exit where Highway 77 is, and cut in over there by the fast food restaurants and come right on up here to us. And by the way, they're going to be doing lunch today. They're going to be doing some burgers here in a little while. Probably start that up about 10 o'clock or so this morning.
Nice.
And you can register for an Apex cooler they're going to be giving away as well. And of course, come and try and buy it. Interest rates as low as 0% on Kubotas. Come by and take advantage of it today. It's G and JP live on 95.1 The Mountain.
Gee, did he drive the Model T?
No, he did not.
Gosh.
He would not have had time to get here. He would have had to leave yesterday. So he came in his little red truck, which is only modestly faster than the Model T.
It ain't but 9:30. My goodness.
Oh, you were
No
planning
way
on,
I could have.
were you planning on being there at 9?
Yeah, he was supposed to be here at like 8 o'clock, so he just got here.
Might as well have just driven the Model T then. All right, we'll check in with you
Matt.
here.
Yes, sir.
Here we
Yes,
go.
sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, you and Steve, I want your opinion on something.
Okay.
What about getting us one of those really long signs about Kubota 0% interest and bring it down here and let G get out there on the next to the interstate and dance around with it like they do at the pizza places?
I don't think you got enough money on the planet to get G to dance around by the interstate.
You're a wise man, Steve. We'll check in again in a little bit, guys.
Sounds good. You guys have fun out there. It sounds like you are. I got to admit, I got 5 acres of land that could use a tractor. Anyway, let's get back to the news here. The application period for the FIA's prospective new Formula One team owners, it's still open. In addition to the one guy who's been the obvious one, Michael Andretti. Another person who does seem very interested, and we talked about him when this whole thing kind of began, is a billionaire from Hong Kong by the name of Calvin Lowe. Turns out he is interested, but he's not willing to put in his own application. Instead, he's expressed an interest in joining in with an existing team or one of the applicants that could get in with a new organization of their own. So in other words, he ain't looking to do it all by himself. The deadline for getting in those applications is the end of the month, although the FIA has said that's a soft deadline. Oh, gosh. Make it a hard deadline, guys. Just, if you haven't got it in by this date, it ain't worth it.
Andretti Lowe?
Yeah. No. We'll get back to that. Lowe, who's the CEO of R.E. Lee Insurance, has some investment in Doralton Capital. Here's the thing. His investment with Doralton Capital has nothing to do with Doralton's ownership of the Williams F1 team. Let's talk about Andretti Cadillac. Andretti Cadillac Lowe, he could technically. The other known applicant is something called High Tech GP or High Tech Grand Prix, but the Reuters news agency, he says that Lowe has exactly zero interest in joining either of them. Okay, what's left? Well, there's this Panthera Team Asia that could get a boost from Lowe. They're the only other team that has made any significant noise about applying, but we don't know yet whether they actually have. Lowe talked in general about joining in on a potential Formula One operation, said, quote, "The financial part, believe it or not, to me, is not actually the biggest problem." Well, duh, you're a billionaire. It's actually gathering all the expertise, the mechanics, the whole team together into one unit. So right now, there are a few opportunities coming up. So we're talking quite seriously with, his words, a few teams. He later added that he has talked specifically to 2 teams, one of which has already applied, the other that was, quote, still going on behind the scenes doing their thing.
Here's your sign.
Read into that what you want. Said he also thinks Formula One is concentrating, and here's where we're starting to get the divide. We talked about Michael Andretti coming in and basically doing, scorched earth policy when he talked about how all the other 10 owners currently were much too worried about the short-term aspect of it and not looking at the long-term aspect of it, which we kind of broke down here on the show. Well, here comes a bit of scorched earth from Mr. Lowe. Thinks Formula One's concentrating too much on being a presence in the United States and should actually be concentrating on his area in Asia. Lowe said, quote, "I think there are a lot more Asian players, investors who want to get into this sport more than we can imagine. Not just drivers, but team owners and officials." Oh, I don't doubt that there are people that are interested. But again, we mentioned this on the show. If you're looking to make your next big break when it comes to being in sports, you really need to be a player in the United States of America. Why? It is the largest sports media market in the world.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
End of sentence.
Yep.
You're going to make more money being in the United States and having a solid presence here in the United States than you will if you're in Hong Kong.
No doubt.
Now, would a race in Hong Kong be kind of cool? Yeah. But Hong Kong is an island that is effectively all one big city. It's going to have to be a street course, and I'm not so certain Hong Kong's willing to close down enough streets to do it.
Whew. True.
Las Vegas is. Money talks.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, as for how much it's going to cost to get in, Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali seems to be joining in with the 10 existing team owners when it comes to the idea of upping that entry fee for any new team. It currently, via the Concord Agreement between the FIA, Formula One, and all the teams, states that any new team has to pay $200 million just to get in. That figure, by the way, would be split evenly amongst the existing teams, 10 of them currently right now. They are complaining about splitting annual revenue with another team because, again, they're not seeing the forest for the trees. They're seeing the short term of it, and they're not looking at the long term where revenues go up. Duh. The new number being thrown around is a figure we mentioned the last time this topic came up, $600 million. Domenicali believes that any new team that comes in needs to bring value into the series as a whole, adding, quote, "The evaluation has to be done together to see from the technical perspective, from the sporting perspective, from financial stability perspective, all to make that bigger picture. If a new team is going to give value to the league, to the sport, there will be a different position," Domenicali said, that several potential owners have actually filed applications of interest. So the question becomes, how many are we going to deal with? Well, right now, it looks like we're limited to 12. Mm-hmm. So only 2 more can come in. Again, I don't know why you're balking at Andretti. He's successful in several different series. He's got the money to back himself up.
True.
If Lowe comes in with another organization, be it Panthera Asia or be it High Tech GP or some other group that we've never heard of, that automatically gives them the credence that they can stick around for a little while.
Sure.
I get that.
Sure.
But again, their biggest complaint right now seems to be, well, we're going to take this piece of pie that has been cut into 10 pieces. We're going to have to add an 11th or a 12th piece. Well, yeah, but if you add Andretti Cadillac, U.S. automaker, U.S.-based team, and that U.S.-based team with a U.S. automaker as a backer is promising a U.S. driver, that's going to grab the attention of the U.S. fan more than just Haas F1 has. Mm-hmm. That's going to help you. And if you can raise your revenue in the United States, again, what did I just call us? The largest sports market on the planet?
Correct.
That means more revenue coming your way.
Correct.
Suddenly that split that had been 10 and is now 11 or maybe 12 suddenly gets evened out. Again, bigger picture, folks. Bigger picture. Think about it for a couple moments. We'll find out. Again, end of the month. So 2.5 more weeks-ish, since it's a soft deadline. On a lighter note, Formula One has a deal with ABC ESPN here in the United States, which includes streaming the races on ESPN+. But it hasn't stopped them from partnering with another streaming service, in this case Paramount+. It's a deal that includes branding for the service at several races in the order on the schedule: Miami, Canada, Austria, Britain, Italy, Japan, U.S. Grand Prix in Coda, Texas, Mexico, Brazil, and Las Vegas. And you can expect more Formula One-based programming to appear on Paramount+. What? We don't know, because they didn't detail it, but apparently some form of Formula One programming will be on Paramount+. No word from ABC ESPN as to whether or not they're liking this or don't care. Hey, they're the ones with the television rights. Last year here at the U.S. Grand Prix in Coda at Austin, Texas, the Sky Sports coverage aired on ABC, not ESPN here in the U.S., showed, actor Brad Pitt, director-producer Jerry Bruckheimer, and several others who are known to be readying the upcoming Formula One-based movie for the Apple Plus streaming service. You can expect to see more of them as this year rolls on, because they're about to set filming this film. That's right. They're going to use Silverstone in Britain as their home base, and they are going to start appearing at numerous different tracks along the way. Stefano Domenicali did mention that while the film should be good for the series, it will need to be tightly controlled to ensure that the filming does not interfere with the actual on-track action on race weekends, saying, quote, "It'll be quite invasive in terms of production. It's something that we need to control in a way, but it will be another way of showing that Formula One never stops." Bruckheimer's got some experience with this. You might remember he was one of the main forces behind that little NASCAR film from the late 80s, early 90s called Days of Thunder.
A little bit.
Still held up as one of the top-level racing movies of all time.
One of my favorites.
Along with Brad Pitt, Sir Lewis Hamilton, that Formula One guy who's got 7 titles to his name and 100-plus wins to his name as a producer advisor. They say they would like to up the level of the Days of Thunder production value and make a top-level film about racing themselves. Brad Pitt's supposed to play some sort of a former F1 driver who becomes a mentor for some young up-and-comer. Kind of seems like a Formula One version that's a cross between Days of Thunder and Bull Durham.
True. Very true.
We'll see. I'm interested. I don't have Apple Plus, but that's another story. I'll deal with that later. Next weekend's going to be the next race on the Formula E calendar, Berlin, at the old Tempelhof Airport course specifically. Then following that is the annual rookie test. It's going to take place on Monday, the 24th of April. All teams can participate. There are rules regarding the drivers who can. You can have a driver who's participated in Formula E before, but it must be under a specific number of hours behind the wheel. Tag Heuer Porsche is going with a Formula 2 racer by the name of David Beckman, not David Beckham, David Beckman. He's also their reserve driver for this year, by the way, along with a World Endurance Championship racer by the name of Yifei Yi. I think I got that right. If I didn't, I apologize. IMSA and German DTM sports car racer Jack Aitken's back. He's going to run for Envision Racing. He has time testing for both Mahindra and Jaguar TCS racing in Formula E. He's got himself a little Formula One experience as well. He filled in over at Williams in F1, racing in the Bahrain Grand Prix due to COVID back in 2020. He's going to be joined by a Formula 3 driver by the name of Johnny Edgar, 2 British guys who are going to be running for the British Envision Racing team. Avalanche Andretti. Oh, by the way, that's that Michael Andretti dude again. He's in Formula E and doing pretty well.
Back.
He selected 2 drivers, Formula 2 driver Zane Maloney and Indy NXT up-and-comer Linus Lundqvist. Meanwhile, the McLaren operation going with the Le Mans Series driver by the name of Charlie Eastwood, no relation that we know of to Clint, and Luke Browning. Browning, by the way, has a British Formula 4 title and a GP3 championship to his credit. So it's going to be interesting to see if any of those guys are able to work their way into the top levels of racing, be it Formula 1, Formula E, or whatever. I mean, Jack Aitken, he's got that experience. He didn't do all that well, but then again, it was 2020. in a Williams car. Mm-hmm. Didn't we just talk about them last week and how bad they were in 2019 and 2020?
Yeah, a little bit.
Over that 2-year period, they scored exactly 1 championship point.
Hey.
And by the way, it wasn't by Jack Aiken.
Nope.
I can't hang my hat on Jack Aiken's performance based on that.
Nope.
So
you can't.
We'll
You
see how
absolutely
things
can't.
go. We'll see how things roll on this. Again, that's the rookie test happens on the 24th, the weekend after they get the Formula E race in over there. And then when we come back, we're going to check in one more time with our friend Grady out there. And then we're going to talk about a gentleman. We missed out on talking about him last week, so we're going to fix that oversight this week. April 4th, lost a speed legend by the name of Craig Breedlove. Talk a little bit about his life and times behind the wheel and exactly why he belongs in so many halls of fame when it comes to motorsports. Coming up next, right here on CRN, as we get ready to wrap up another week on this, what could be an award-winning show. It hasn't won any yet, but it could.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
We are. We're going to take one more chance here during the show to check in with G and JP, who are out not too far away from Talladega Superspeedway and the Talladega Short Track, and they're taking a look at a whole bunch of tractors and mowers. Tell us a little bit more about exactly what's going on and where you are.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. We are live this morning here at Alabama Tractor. We're just off of I-20 at the Lincoln exit. Easy to get to. You can see it's sitting way up here on the hill, and it is Kubota's field day event, the Kubota field day event that's going on until 2 o'clock this afternoon. And basically what that means is they've got some great prices on Kubotas. They've got interest rates as low as 0%, and you can try it before you buy it. So you got a tractor you're interested in, they'll let you climb up on that bad boy and drive it around and get a feel for it. Same with the zero-turn mowers, same with any excavators or any of the equipment out here. And boy, they got a good selection, JP.
They got a lot of stuff here. Now, I'll tell you, I don't know if anybody got to see my Facebook Live, but we went around looking at some of the equipment. They got big tractors with air conditioners in them.
Air conditioner.
That's what me and you need. Yeah. And then they got mowers. Man, you talking about slewing some chlorophyll, you can get it with them things. Them bad boys are bad now, I'm telling you.
Hey, any of those Kubotas have reclining seats on them?
No, but they got that air ride. Some of them got that air ride seat.
So you can get everything but a reclining
seat. You just
seat.
Feel like you're riding on air.
Now, 0% interest, that by my calculations, that's like free money.
That is free money. That is free money.
So you can't beat it. So you can get that with approved credit. They're going to grill burgers today, so they're going to feed you. Come on down and have lunch. I think they'll fire up the grill probably pretty close to 11 o'clock this morning. They are registering folks to give away an Apex cooler, guys. So there's all kind of reasons to come to Alabama Tractor today, not the least of which is to come see us.
They could ask me for my autograph and I'll give you a T-shirt.
Well, there you go. That's quite the trade-off. You going to autograph the T-shirt?
Well, if I knew how to write, I would.
Yeah, I'm trying to give you hands, man. I'm trying to help. I am. I'm trying to help. I can only do so much. You guys have a lot of fun out there. We might actually stop by and say hello. Looks like a fun time.
Absolutely. Come by and see us.
Sounds like a plan. All right. They'll be checking in here throughout the rest of the morning here, but we got about 15 more minutes here, and unfortunately we got to take care of some business, some sad business. Again, we missed on talking about him last week, but we're going to fix that huge oversight. April 4th is when we lost Craig Breedlove. It's a name that might not be overtly familiar to drivers or fans of the series that we regularly cover because, well, he never really was a driver in any of them. But nevertheless, he deserves to be honored here on this show. Breedlove, born in California in the heights of the Great Depression back in 1937, graduated from Venice High School, but got into speed at a young age. Actually made his first attempt at a land speed record in 1962 at the age of 25, ignoring FIA rules at the time that required land speed record cars had to have 4 wheels. He was using a 3-wheeler. Well, the FIA didn't recognize the record, but the FIM, which is the federal or the International Federation of Motorcycles, as opposed to the International Federation of Automobiles, that's the American version, not the French version of what it is. I'm not going to try and butcher it in the French pronunciation of it. AFIM did recognize it. The artist Portrait of Breedlove, now on CRN Live on YouTube, is courtesy of jegs.com. The next year, that 3-wheeler, keep this in mind, so light that the tires did not need to be changed after it was done, set a brand new speed record, 407.45 miles per hour.
Oof.
That's technically on a motorcycle. Or in a motorcycle.
Technically.
And we've talked about pro stock motorcycle racing here in the NHRA, and those guys are doing just over 200 miles per hour. He went twice that.
Yeah. No. I like speed, but not that kind of speed.
Yeah. Then Craig went out and said, you know what? Ain't fast enough. Turned around and built himself a 4-wheeled vehicle. That way the FIA did recognize it. In 1964, set himself a new record. The new record, 526.28 miles per hour. That made him the first to top 500 miles per hour on the ground.
But wait a minute, there's a little bit more.
Sure. How about 555 miles per hour that he did in November 1965, and then less than 2 weeks later, turned right around and topped that and became the first person to top 600 miles per hour on land. All of these in vehicles he named the Spirit of America. He took a break from speed runs until 1992, but when he came back, he took a run at the Black Rock Desert. All those previous runs, by the way, done at the Bonneville Salt Flats. This time around, he took the Black Rock Desert in Nevada, built a car in 1992, and in 1996 got it out there, and on one run topped 700 miles per hour. Thing about it is, you need to do an official record, do it down and back, and then they average it. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do that on the way back and never could top the figure again. He never actually topped 700 again. He sold that car to Steve Fawcett in 2006. Fawcett was going to attempt to do it himself, and then Fawcett died in a car accident not related to a speed run. That car, by the way, I believe is on... Somebody's got it in a museum. I can't remember where that last Spirit of America is.
So Craig Breedlove
Yes.
did not ring a bell.
Until...
Spirit of America rang a bell.
There you go. In 1993, Breedlove was inducted. Very, very worthy induction into the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America. He added induction into the International Motorsports Hall of Fame at our track at Talladega Superspeedway in 2000, and added the Automotive Hall of Fame in 2009. If you're a Beach Boys fan, you might know that there's a song that they did called Spirit of America, and indeed it was about and named after Breedlove's runs and cars. He was diagnosed with cancer not too long ago, but the thing about it is he kept it from the public. Nobody really knew. Only his family and closest friends knew that he had it. It was that cancer that took his life on April the 4th in his home, Rio Vista, California. Leaves behind 3 children and his 5th wife, Yadira, married Breedlove since 2002. Craig Breedlove, 86 years old, and you will be missed. There will not be another person like you. There will be other people who will do speed runs, and there may be somebody that finally, and I don't even know whether or not it actually has happened, maybe somebody will actually begin to top 700 miles per hour on the ground. Maybe somebody might be able to actually break the speed of sound on the ground. But you know what? Never going to be another Craig Breedlove. Never going to.
None at all.
Never going to be.
I don't see anybody ever breaking that speed record, ever.
It's going to be difficult. I mean, we went through going through so much to try and break Mach 1 in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine at 700 miles per hour on the ground how much shaking, rattling, and rolling that car was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes guts and brass ones that, I'll be honest with you, I ain't got that. I love speed. I'm not sure I could do that. John's over there putting up one of the Spirit of America cars right there. You know what year that was from by any chance, John?
I did not.
Okay. It's early. I mean, it's obviously
60s, I think.
Might be one of the first ones. Wow. Good looking one on CRN Live on YouTube. Yeah, he's going to be missed. There's no doubt about it. I hate it that he's gone. All right. So here's the deal. We got Bristol. Bristol was last week. We got Martinsville this week.
Which I'm still tired from.
Yeah. We go from Martinsville, arguably, really not arguably, the smallest track in the NASCAR circuit, to the biggest oval on the circuit, because there are road courses that are technically longer than Talladega, but the biggest oval, the biggest, baddest track in NASCAR, as we like to call it, is Talladega Superspeedway. Matt and I and John are going to be out there. We're going to be out there broadcasting live, actually, this show next week. It's going to be something of a hybrid show.
Mm-hmm.
That gentleman.
Fun.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be a lot of fun. That gentleman that you just heard a couple of minutes ago, G, that's right, Grady, he's going to be kind of covering the second half of the show. Because, again, we're going to be on from 8 to 10, but at 9 o'clock, right in the middle, and this is all Central Time, God's time. Sorry, those of you who are in different time zones. Or different countries. Yeah. For those of you that are not in the Central Time zone, this will be Central Time. We'll go on the air live at 8 a.m. Central Time next week. At 9 a.m., Matt and I have to go to the tower because he's the scoreboard operator and I'm one of the PA announcers, in case you hadn't heard. And that means that our producer, John, is going to be there with G, and they're going to cover the second half of the show.
Even though my voice will be heard from time to time over the speaker system due to all the sponsorship reads that we collaboratively do with each other, which I publicly want to thank you again for giving me that Roll Clyde reading.
Absolutely. For those of you that will be there, you'll know what he's talking about.
Yeah, you will.
So yeah, we're looking forward to it, but yeah, G will be there. He'll be on the air covering the second half of the show and throughout the course of the day on Saturday up until race time when the flagship station joins the Motor Racing Network for their coverage. Because let me think, we got the ARCA race is on Saturday morning.
Correct.
So we got We got qualifying, really.
Cup qualifying, ARCA race, Xfinity race, boom.
Well, I was trying to
boom.
think. Friday is going to be Xfinity and ARCA qualifying.
ARCA,
Is that right?
practice / qualifying, and then Xfinity qualifying Friday afternoon. Yes.
And then ARCA race, Cup qualifying, Xfinity race, and then, of course, Sunday, big-time Cup race.
Cup qualifying runs first for the ARCA race.
Whatever.
Close. Just give an exact schedule.
I've got the basics right. I just didn't
basics
have the
right, yeah.
order correct. I apologize. I just don't have it in front of me. And, well, let's face it, I'm in radio and I need a script. That's the way it goes. But, yeah, we're going to have a good time out there on location, all of us here. We're looking forward to it and hope you're able to join us. If you're not going to be at Talladega, James, looking forward to it. Hopefully, maybe we'll get the chance to see you. If you're not going to be out at Talladega, certainly join us next week here on the air on the flagship station or via CRN Live on YouTube because, we're still going to be doing the show. It's just going to be a little different than what you're used to.
A little bit.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood?
Yeah, knock on wood.
No, here's the thing. There's no luck involved. It will happen. We're confident it will happen.
Yeah. For those that
It's where we need
missed last year's show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
where we
Can you say computer meltdown?
a little bit. But you know what? We'll make it work.
Yeah, he finally got it going after I had to go to the tower.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
and I
live's
had
up.
to leave before he did.
Live's up.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to have a great time.
This is where we need to cue the music up from is the old ESPN theme music to bowl week for bowls. It's the most wonderful week of the year.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about it is not really too long after that, we're going to be gearing up for Barber Motorsports Park.
Barber's actually the week after,
Yeah. Speed Weeks here in Alabama.
which
Love it. I like the fact that they have those two back-to-back, though.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed it a little bit more when Barber was the week before Talladega, but hey, I can deal with the week after.
Even though the week after, we know one of us, hopefully a second one as well, will be in very prime condition to lose our collective hearing at the 4-wide NHRA Nationals at ZMAX Dragway in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Not just 22,000, but 44,000 horsepower at one time.
Yeah.
So I'm prepared to lose my hearing.
Dude's going there live. I may not be able to make that. Scheduling. I'd love to go. We're talking about maybe going to Bristol Dragway, Thunder Valley Nationals. So we got big plans here that we're going to start to kind of work our way out and about and be at more facilities, maybe to be able to see you guys who are fans of the show, and we appreciate you being so.
I want to throw a rebuttal at there's not maybe we are going to Bristol. We're going back to Bristol because I scoped out that press box / tower / everything. And
Speaking of press boxes, you said, I mean, we look at the last, they call themselves the last great Coliseum. You said you got to look at the press box, the media center. Was it the media center or the press box at Bristol?
Media Center.
Media center. Okay, that's the one that's in the infield. You
Media
said it
center,
was smallish?
For those of us that have been and actually have seen the Media Center at Talladega Superspeedway or
Sizable,
even Atlanta,
which is also good sized. Yes.
Bristol is half that size.
Oh, hello.
Half that size.
Now, here's the thing. We've been in that situation before. We were warned about it when it came to going to Darlington when we went in 2018. And you got to remember something. If you look at Talladega and you look directly up on top of the grandstands at the start-finish line, that's the old tower. There's a new one now that's at the top of the grandstands above the tri-oval along the start-finish line side of it. Mm-hmm. That's a much bigger, much nicer, more palatial setup. The other one was effectively a mobile home that was dropped onto a platform.
That I think has been converted into the new Club 212.
I think so.
I think.
But either way, back when it was us, we were in this little closet, effectively. And we were told that was palatial in comparison to Darlington. And Matt and I kind of looked at each other and went, okay, this ought to be interesting. Yeah, we went there and they were right.
Yeah.
Effectively, what they had done was they had taken what had been the restroom for the spotters stand and turned it into the PA booth.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, they'd removed all the other accoutrements that had been a restroom.
And it's
That would have been ugly.
And it's set back from the edge of the tower, not to the front.
So as PA announcers, we are able to see all the action from midway through turns 1 and 2 till you got to the start-finish line, and then it was blurred or taken away from us because the spotter stand was in our way all the way back around to midway through the turns.
Yep. Yeah.
And we can thank the combination of NBC and Fox Sports for that, because they took the old PA room and made it their second television room and shoved the PA guys out.
With and I'm going to close on this note today because I'm still tired from Bristol. I'm still delirious. That's because I've had a nonstop month of April, and it's not stopping anytime soon.
Sure.
So, but with what NASCAR has as their traveling PA guy now, I don't feel so bad about Darlington anymore.
No, I don't. I miss going to Darlington. I don't miss that little PA booth. Not at all.
No.
But that being said, we might end up
Time will tell.
seeing if we can't make our way back to Darlington.
Time will tell. Dan.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, y'all. We appreciate it. Thank you for sticking with us here through thick and thin. Again, we will be with you next week live from Talladega Superspeedway here on CRN. Hopefully you'll be able to join us then in person, but if not, make sure you join us right here on our flagship station, 95.1 The Mountain. If you haven't got the app, download the app. That way, if you run out of the FM signal, you got the app, or you can check us out, as you are welcome to each and every week, on YouTube, CRN Live. That's what you search for. If you're already a subscriber, thank you very much. Go tell your friends. If you're not, go check it out. It's free to subscribe. It don't cost you anything at all, and that way you know when we go live.
Yep.
Y'all have a great week. We'll talk to you again next week live from Talladega Superspeedway right here on the Championship Racing Network.
See ya.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.